Day 5, ratios. So one thing when we're talking about ratios, perimeter ratio is comparing just one side to one side. Area ratio is taking the perimeter ratio squared. Volume ratio, we do a V, would be taking the area or the perimeter ratio and cubing it because it's three-dimensional. Volume is three-dimensional, area is two-dimensional, perimeter is one-dimensional. So for this first one, I'm looking for just the perimeter ratio. So it'd be 6 to 8. You should always simplify ratios though, always simplify ratios. So this would be 3 to 4. Now when I'm looking for my area ratio, it's taking that and squaring it. So you square the top and the bottom. So 3 squared is 9, 4 squared is 16. So that's my perimeter and ratio for that first one. So this one, a lot of times you will see me do this. Perimeter ratio, area ratio, and then make sure to have a little square there, volume ratio, and have a little cubed. So it's giving me two side lengths. That's giving me my perimeter ratio. Again, you should simplify if you can. I can't simplify 7. But I need to find my area ratio. Why? Because this right here is my area. I can only do things with area with my area ratio. So I have to square that. So 49 over 100. So now I take my area ratio, and it's saying that the smaller area, and when I look at this is my smaller ratio. Oopsies, I meant to do this. This is my smaller ratio. That should be on top then. So my smaller area should be across from my smaller ratio. And now I have my fraction equal fraction. So I should multiply, cross multiply. So multiply this by x, multiply this by 100. So 49x will be equal to 1,273. And then take 1,273 and divide by 49. And you would get that your area of your smaller one, and I meant to actually have a 0 right there. So 12,730 divided by 49. Sorry, guys. So 259.80, and my units here are feet squared. So my scale factor of two similar pieces of window glass is 3 to 5. So different type of things when we're talking about ratio. The smaller piece costs $2.50. How much does a larger piece cost? So when you're writing down a ratio, when you're comparing lengths to something, you simplify it to get the smallest ratio. So it's saying you simplified your ratio by something to get that 3. So it was 3 times something's equal to 250. You have to figure out what did you simplify your ratio by. So if I do this, so I'm saying my smaller ratio, my smaller piece costs 250, and my smaller ratio is 3. So I take 250 divided by 3. What I simplified it by, and I'm going to actually a decimal if you did it, I'm going to keep that as actually a fraction. So now if I want to figure out how much the other piece cost, so my ratio was 5, and I simplified it by 5/6. So if I multiply it by 5/6, I would get $4.17. So this one's a little bit different. So I'm going to find the area of my larger one. So if I do 8 times 20, that would give me the area. So I have 160 feet squared. So again, if I do my perimeter ratio with my area ratio, so I have 10, that's my area of my smaller, over 160. And if I simplify that fraction, that's the same thing as 1 over 16. I can go backwards. So if this one was squared, in order to move backwards into something that's not squared, so undoing a squared, it would be taking the square root. Square root of 1, square root of 16. So I have 1 over 4. So now I know what my ratio is here. So my ratio is 1 to 4. So that's my ratio. My smaller side, I don't know. My largest side, I know, is 8. So now I have to make sure to have my perimeter ratio when I'm dealing with just one-dimensional. So if I cross multiply, I would get 4x is equal to 8. So x would be equal to 2, and my units here are feet. And that's all I have for ratios. We will be doing more ratio questions in class. But that's all we got here, folks. And have a grand day of your life right now.